Okay, it's 9:02. Let's get started. Welcome to the V3 implementation call. Today is Wednesday, April 9th. If you haven't already, please make sure that you update your name with your affiliation in the participant list. And just a quick reminder, these meetings are recorded and shared on the NEMSIS website and YouTube channel, so feel free to share with your team or review as needed. We encourage participation, so feel free to come off of mute or use the chat feature. We will review the chat during our post-meeting debrief. Okay, we'll go ahead and begin with John. He'll do our stakeholder introductions. John, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen. Just a second. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. So, stakeholder introduction, my favorite thing to do. Why do we do it? The same reason every week. To get to know others, build some connections, get ideas for new hobbies, see why people are doing why they enjoy their jobs, be spotlighted for 30 to 45 seconds, and to have just a few minutes of fun, or seconds. So we asked this person, what do you like to do to relax or unwind? And they said they like to play board games with their family. This is not an actual family, nor an actual picture. This is AI generated, but they look very happy. So, and I did upload a picture of the person and tell them to make the dad resemble it, but I'm not sure which one is the dad because they didn't do a great job of resembling it. Some things that others may not know. He said, I have put my foot down in 32 countries. This was actually an incredibly difficult map to get an AI to create. And these are probably not the 32 countries that he or she has visited because these are not even the right countries names. But I love Augustizia. First jobs. He was a used bookstore clerk as a teenager and a summer school classroom aide. Again, not real people. How long have you been in EMS, healthcare, or data? 7 months. Awesome. Welcome to the family. What do you like about your job? The knowledge that the work I do aids the folks who help people when they need it most. So, any guesses? Welcome to Mr. Lewis Byers, Senior Software Engineer from Emergent. Welcome. If you've not, I wanted to point out, notice the shirt. For those of you Star Wars fans, this will be the second introduction in a row that has a Star Wars tie-in. If you've not been introduced, here is a QR code that you can use to do it from your phone right now. And as always, I will put a link in the chat if you would like to complete it from your computer, so that I'll have something to do on the next meeting because I'm running out. Thank you in advance. And here is a picture from last year's annual meeting. This year's is coming up, so I can't wait to hear from Monet about that. I've got the next topic as well. It's a dashboard review. However, I'm not going to review them. I just wanted to ask you guys to do us a favor. We believe that all of the links on our website are currently working again. So if you would like to try to review the links and make sure that they're working and not taking you back to the homepage, we would greatly appreciate that. And if you find one that doesn't work, create a help desk ticket and we will get it fixed. And with that, back to you, Amanda.
Thanks, John. Next, we have the critical patch update. Kevin, the floor is yours.
Update on the critical patch. The critical patch is out. It's been released. It is available. All resources on our website should be back up and running. The data dictionary, the Git repository, etc. So please, 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 if you notice something that's down, please put in a help desk ticket and we'll get it back up. So just to reiterate, 3.5.1 critical patch 1, 3.5.0 critical patch, and I blanked 5 or 6. Jen will correct me if I'm wrong. Is out now. So we're very excited. Thank you for the patience and endurance that you all showed in working with us through this. So that is really the only critical patch update. It's out and live and ready to go.
Thank you, Kevin. Now, Jen is going to be covering the critical patch compliance, change committee recommendations, and the maintenance update. Let's start with compliance. Jen?
Thanks, Amanda. And yes, Kevin, you got it right. It's critical patch 5 for 350. And I have gotten quite a few emails from folks just saying thanks. We're so glad to have had it get it back up for you as early as possible. And I just want to repeat what John said, what Kevin said. If you find something broken, let us know. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Critical patch compliance has begun. The 90-day clock has started, right? So we released it on the 7th. You'll have 90 days from that. That puts you into July, early July. All of the vendors, both collect and send and receive and process, do need to go through the compliance process. If you have any questions about that, anything specific, please feel free to ask. If you don't want to ask on this call, you don't want to put it in chat, please feel free to open a help desk ticket or email me. I really want to make sure that all of you vendors know exactly what's expected of you if you don't already. So on our NEMSIS page, you all are aware that we have a compliance software testing status page on the technical resources side. We have added a couple of columns and made an update here. So we will be tracking critical patch compliance. Here, it will be the date that the receive and process vendor and or the collect and send vendor passed the critical patch testing. And we've also added a recertification due by date. So there is no confusion whatsoever that the critical patch, if you do the abbreviated version of critical patch that we're going to talk about in just a second, it does not change your recertification date. The only thing that changes your recertification due by date is if you do the full compliance process. So as far as the critical patch is concerned, if you have done your compliance testing, your full compliance testing with all of your test cases in 2025, you have the ability to take one of those test cases and update it with the information for the new values. Your DEM file would need D personnel 40 and your EMS file would need E patient 25, and you can resend those to our testing environment after you notify us that that's what you're going to do. Right? So that's an option. Or you can do an abbreviated version where we have one test file which has national elements only with the very minimal data needed. Any data that is extra beyond that, that your software requires for you to complete the record, we're going to ignore that. We're not looking at that. What we are looking at is what was affected by the critical patch. So please know if you do that, that will not change your recertification due by date. There are a few folks that asked for extensions. You will be expected within the next 5 business days from the release to put in your application to start your process. If your recertification due by date has passed, you will be expected to do that right away within 5 days so we can get that started. You don't have options. You need to use the regular process and do the full compliance testing because you were due for that compliance testing. If you ask for an extension, but your date has not passed yet, your date is in, let's say, May, for example, I would suggest you get started on the full compliance process because you still have that date coming up. And then if you need an extension for 90 days or for 30 days past that date because of the critical patch, let us know. Let's talk about it. We want to make sure that we have worked with you as much as possible to keep everybody out of probation as much as possible. So I think I've covered all of the options you have for the critical patch, the way you can do it, how we are tracking it so that the states and the vendors alike can take a look and see where they are and what they're doing. The process for starting the critical patch is to open up a help desk ticket. That is for critical patch abbreviated compliance only. Just open up help desk ticket, give the name of your vendor, the software that you're going to test, the version that you're going to test, and which way you're going to do the abbreviated compliance testing for the critical patch, right? So let us know that. If you are doing the full compliance process, That's normal. You go to the NEMSIS website, you go to our compliance page, and you open up the compliance application form. If there's anyone who would like to start version 351 testing, that is testing as normal, right? There aren't any vendors that have started that testing yet. That is testing as normal. You go in, you open your application form, you select 351, and we will get those test cases to you. And those do contain critical patch 1. So I'm going to look through chat really quick because I see a couple of things that came through. I want to make sure I've answered those questions. The critical patch was officially released April 7th, Jason. The critical patch date only, is the critical patch date only for this one? Show which one tested. David, I think you should be able to come off mute. I don't quite know what you mean. When you talk about the critical patch date, are you referring to the date that shows here, or?
Right. So what goes in critical patch? Is that a date or is that a critical patch version?
This will be the date. So I'm
Okay.
in biospatial. I'm not picking on you, Joe. If they came in and they said, hey, we want to do our receive and process testing for biospatial, and they complete it on April 12th, this would say April 12th that they did
Okay.
version 350.
So if there's another critical patch later, then we're not going to know which critical patch this refers to.
Once we have completed all of the critical patch and everybody's got the information, we'll see if this column needs to stay or not. Right, this is
Okay,
for
so this is gonna,
this critical
okay,
patch.
so it's just for this round of testing.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Ridgely, will vendors have client software updated in 3 months? So we did put out that the expectation from the NEMSIS Technical Assistance Center is that vendors have 90 days from the release date to go through this abbreviated compliance process and or their regular compliance process. 90 days is the normal amount of time for the regular compliance process. If not, can we survey vendors to find out when each will be able to do this by? If there are any vendors that are going to miss that 90-day, they
Jen, I
should
guess
be
my
doing-
question is not, will they meet your compliance testing, but will they have it rolled out to their customers? Like, will everybody be using it in 90 days, or is there some period of time after that that we should be waiting?
And that's actually a great question, Ridgely, and kind of one that is perfect. We would like to know what the states, how they're planning on rolling out with the critical patch. We want to know how the vendors are planning on rolling out for the critical patch. So please start communicating with us about those plans so that we can get that communication going. That's one of the things that has benefited us in version 350. When we've had good communication between the states and the vendors and the TAC about the plans and the timeline and the expectation, things have gone very, very smoothly. So we're hoping to continue that practice with the critical patch. So hopefully we will start now that the critical patch has been released, we'll start having some communications. Lauren, you asked, is there an additional 90-day past 90-day before XSD changes to 1.1? I don't have any of the date information with critical patch 2. Kevin, do we have any information ready to share for critical patch 2? And or 6, depending on which version we're talking about?
No, not yet. We're still we're just focused on getting this one out, and then we're currently evaluating those dates right now.
So as soon as we have that information, Lauren, and everyone on the call, we will definitely share that with everyone.
Thank you. Will we be able to implement the critical patch and states will be able to ingest it? Like, will we have any problem sending it for everybody? Do we have to do it state by state?
So the state should implement it first before you send to the state. But with it as a 0 to 1 usage, if you send it without it, it wouldn't fail if the state has implemented it and you don't send it at that time.
Okay.
Is that answering the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Jen, it's
Okay.
Ridgely. What about the other way around? If they send it, but we haven't updated yet, will it fail?
So if the state has not implemented critical patch and the agency sends it,
Correct. Would that fail?
Yeah, this is Josh.
Or
Yes, that
can-
would fail because your state system would not recognize that new element.
Great, thank you.
would
Yeah.
the state repositories be able to just ingest it and like ignore it or parse it out?
No, because it would fail according to the previous build of the standard that the state system has implemented. So it's important that the states implement first.
Okay.
That is, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, that's pretty much how all of the changes work with the version changes, that the states need to go first. Or the receiving, I should be careful how I say that. The receive and process systems need to go before the collect and send sends to that receive and process system. Are there any other questions that we can help with? Okay, and then I'm going to change the order just a little bit. The next item is the maintenance schedule that I'm going to cover. And again, it is April 15th and 16th this month. We will take advantage of that. If you have any issues during the maintenance window, no need to open up a help desk ticket. If you experience issues outside of that maintenance window, please let us know through the help desk. And if you ever are wondering if it's during the maintenance window, it is under the technical resources NEMSIS maintenance schedule, and this will pop up and give you the information. So the other item on my list of things is items from the change review committee. So most people are aware that we have a new NEMSIS standard change request process. It is going pretty okay. I don't want to jinx myself by saying smoothly, because we all know what happens when that occurs. So it's going very well. We have about 80 items in the queue that have been historically or recently submitted by stakeholders. A few of you have gone through this new process where you submit the change. There's back and forth with the TAC, making sure we understand what you're asking for. A mock-up is created. You are asked as the requester to approve that mock-up, and then that goes to the change review committee. And our change review committee has started reviewing some of these, and we have a few that have been approved by the change review committee, and they show up in our NEMPub. And I'm going to put this into the chat for all of you so that you have access to this link. Many of you probably already know where this is because this is the same site that we have used before. The big difference now is when you go to this site, and I'm going to use this one here as my first example. It's adding new values to D Agency 03. When you click on this ticket, it will open this up, and I am in here incognito, so it should look exactly like what you see if you're using your Google Chrome to go into it. It has who the original requester was. We are going to keep this a generic term. We're not going to put anyone's name on there. If as the requester, you want your name shared so people can come to you and ask you questions, let us know and we can do that. We're going to put down that it was reviewed by the change, and also anything else that happened to this ticket after the requester requested it. So this is a good example. This went to the change review committee with two new values. And the change review committee was talking about international travel, and sometimes they have flights come in from Mexico, and sometimes this happens, and this can, so how is this going to work if they're outside of these time zones? And that's where the agency originated. So we said, okay, great. They wanted to see what it would look like with more agency time zones added. And we went through, I will tell you that the vendor who worked on this with me did a great job. There was back and forth because after the change review committee said that, I went back to the requester and I said, hey, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts? I provided a new mock-up. That mock-up wasn't exactly what they were thinking, so I provided another new mock-up. And the mock-ups will be in the description, but they will also be down here as attachments that you can open up. And the attachments are going to be in Excel. And I'm not going to save because I already have this available. Oh, but I share this really quick. All right. So I will show you what it looks like. I'm going to move it to the screen I'm sharing as soon as it reopens. I apologize for the delay. And this is what it will look like when you download it. So it should have the original element. If it is a new element, of course, there's no original element, right? You're not going to be able to see that. And then it's going to let you know, is it going to be a minor revision, major revision as it sits, as it is? And it's going to have the additions, any of the other changes. They're going to be highlighted somehow so that you can tell the difference. Okay, and those should be attached to all of them. Now, some of them, and I do want to show you this one, will not have an attachment. And that's because it might be a schematron rule change or something that doesn't have a visual that I can provide to you. So it's going to have like this one was originally discussed at the 2024 annual meeting. There's no true original requester. This was a group discussion that we had. We had it on V3 implementation calls. It's been talked about DMC. The vendors have talked about it. Had lots of discussion around this national schematron rule. And so this was the original rule, and this is the adjustment requested that was approved and voted on during the annual meeting, that it was a 34 to 46 change. So as much information as possible is going to be available on this NEMPUB for you during the change process. Take a look at it, start reviewing it. We're going to start talking on the V3 calls about each of these changes. And then we're going to have a voting mechanism and start getting these voted through to find out what the stakeholders are thinking about it, right? So please know that this isn't the end of the process. Just because it's here in the NEMPUB does not necessarily mean, yep, it's done and we're good to go, right? With it here in the NEMPUB, that means we're talking about it, all of us, the vendors, the agencies, the states. I have a medical director that actually likes to look at this, right? So everyone's available to look at this and talk about it and kind of get the idea of if they like the idea. Send your comments through the help desk. That way I can link those tickets together through the help desk from the original requester and any of your comments that you have about that item, right? So that will help us to keep track of everything and follow it through the process. And then once we start to vote, it'll be into the currently under review, right? And then if it's approved, great. And then if it's voted and everyone says, you know what, this just really isn't going to be beneficial, and we've gone through the process and it's gone back to the requester to say, hey, they were wondering if you could have this change or that change, and then possibly go back to the change review committee. And then you'll see resolved. If it says won't do, there's a reason that we won't do it, and that'll be included in the ticket as well. This will give you the ability to track everything that's happened to these requests. Is there any question about, so I do want to read Caitlin's comment. How about every yes vote costs $10,000 money, which forms a pool for implementation costs shared by all vendors? Thank you, Caitlin. So is there any questions about the change request process, or where to see what came out of the change review committee? Or, you know, we have not determined the voting mechanism, so I can't tell you what the voting mechanism is going to be for these. But you know, any questions that I can answer. All right, I look forward to fun and vigorous conversations about these change requests as they come through. The first few that you see in there are pretty simple. That's where we started to get this process kind of flowing and get it going. And we have 20 that are in front of the change review committee now that they're looking at. And I will tell you, your change review committee, we picked a good group of people on this committee. They are doing their job. They're going back to the state data managers, going back to other state data managers. The vendor is going back to other vendors and talking to them. The agency is looking at the way not just their agency does it, but how all of the agencies in their area do it and talking to their counterparts. And we've had really good discussion, which is why there are 6 in this column and not more in this column. It's not being taken lightly. Everyone understands that a change to the NEMSIS standard has a huge impact on the EMS documentation process. So I'm really, really excited about what we're doing. And again, we welcome your change requests, and let me know if you have any suggestions or anything like that. And I will pass it back to you, Amanda, if no one else has any questions.
Thank you, Jen. Next, we have the SS4A grant summary. Casey, you're up.
Right. Second to share my screen here. All right, everyone. So the SS4A grant notice of funding has been posted. Application deadline is Thursday, June 26th by 5 p.m. Eastern. Excuse me. Just some quick summaries of the grant. So overall goal, improve roadway safety by reducing or eliminating roadway fatality and serious injury through safety action plan development and implementation focused on all users. Program provides funding to develop the tools to strengthen the community's approach to safety and save lives. I borrowed the image here from the NHTSA website for this. Since we work primarily in EMS, kind of the focus for EMS is post-crash care. There's not a whole lot we can do necessarily to eliminate these accidents from happening, but we certainly can improve outcomes. Some of the things that were mentioned in the webinar that was hosted by NHTSA, things like pre-hospital blood infusion, faster access to motor vehicle crash patients, various community roadway and vehicle safety education programs. Kind of one of the big things they really focus on, how is this going to affect the community? How are you going to involve the community? Things like that. So quick on who can apply. So regional organizations, think of like a regional emergency management planning organization or a regional Department of Transportation type organization, political subdivisions of a state, so a county, municipality, etc. Federally recognized tribal organizations, and then various multi-jurisdictional groups. A state or state entity may not apply. It was specifically asked in the webinar about state law enforcement, so like your state patrol or state-run EMS service. They cannot. Private organizations cannot apply. However, if you are a private EMS organization and within the state statute you are deemed the regional EMS authority, then you are allowed to apply. It is very highly encouraged, if that is your situation, to include that statute in your application. So grant funding is available for planning and demonstration as well as implementation. You can apply for an implementation grant if you had previously received planning and demonstration grant, and while applying for that, applying for a new planning and demonstration grant as well. Doesn't guarantee any success, but you are able to do that. As of 2024, there had been $3 billion awarded over 1,800 communities. For this year, 2025, there's an estimated 982 million available, so it's a pretty good amount of money. And again, available to counties, cities, towns, townships, transit agencies, MPOs, tribal organizations. Just kind of briefly what they look for in the different grant applications, planning and development. So it's to develop, complete, or supplement an action plan, as well as to carry out demonstration activities, essentially to prove that action plan, right? For implementation, to implement the strategies that were proven in that planning and development. And they have to be consistent with that existing action plan. And to also funding requests for supplemental planning and demonstration activities that inform the action plan. It cannot be a simple request to fund equipment or supplies. If you are looking for that, it somehow has to tie into that action plan, as well as it can't just be to supplement your budget. So equipment, payroll, employee training. If you're looking for that, again, has to tie into that action plan. That was very heavily talked about in the NHTSA webinar. It has to tie back to the action plan. So they had many applications that had been denied because the action plan wasn't well developed, or what was being requested did not tie back to the action plan. Some tips for applying, and again, this does not guarantee success, but these come straight from the NHTSA folks. It must be a comprehensive action plan. They want to see, again, multiple different organizations working together. They want to see the community working together in this. How is this going to affect the community, benefit the community? Cannot be a statewide plan. It must have clear and measurable timelines. That also is another big thing. Can't just have open-ended timelines. We're going to try this and see what happens, blah, blah. You know, it's got to be a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever your timeline happens to be. It must meet the SS4A requirements of multimodal and disciplinary. Show discussion of collaboration with other entities and details about community engagement. Show strong connection between the action plan and the supplemental demonstration activities that you want to employ. It must specifically address how the action plan will improve outcomes and safety for individuals involved in MVCs. So this can't be like we're trying to fix medical emergencies. It's very focused on motor vehicle. As well as funding for any training activities, again, has to be very tightly tied to that action plan. And that the intent is to affect improvement in MVC victim outcomes and safety. So I have a couple examples of awardees from 2024 that are EMS specific. I don't have a ton of detail about their projects. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to write the notes down fast enough during the webinar, but these are very interesting projects. So the city of Houston was awarded $3.4 million last year for the Houston Post-Crash Emergency Response Demonstration Project. The plan is focused on the East Houston area as their test case, and they're going to identify and develop solutions to improve post-crash response times of emergency units, specifically EMS. They want to demonstrate emergency routing, reduce response times, and assist motorist mobility and reduce unsafe behaviors. Again, there wasn't a ton of detail as to how exactly they're going to do that. And then also the University of Arizona, they have what they call their Physician One Trauma Care on the Roadside program. And they got a huge $7.1 million grant. And this is going to expand their service of the Physician One program. I believe it's over 5 years, if I remember correctly. The program is to improve post-crash care and outcomes. And then the grant is going to be used to evaluate the effectiveness of the program as well. They call it taking the emergency department to the scene. And basically they have a 24/7 physician on staff with a fly car who's able to provide more advanced emergency trauma care in those motor vehicle crash situations. So they actually have a website that talks quite a bit about it. I encourage you to go visit them. There's a lot of information and very interesting program. The link here will take you to the SS4A webinar series page. I will include the link in the chat here. There's some good information. They're going to be starting their how to apply webinars pretty soon. And then just another reminder of the application deadline. So planning and demonstration grants are due by Thursday, June 26th at 5 p.m. Eastern. And also implementation grants are due by Thursday, June 26th at 5 p.m. Eastern. So last year they had staggered. They wanted all at the same time this time around. The link below is to apply. Again, I'll include this in the chat as well. Do we have any questions out there? No
Hey,
questions?
Casey.
Yep.
Casey, this is Eric.
Go
Sorry,
ahead, Eric.
my video's banned from coming on. If anybody has questions, I'm not endorsing any one person over another, but Jonathan Fight has had very good experience and success with getting these grants. So if you want to reach out to someone and ask questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk with you and tell you about what he has been successful in doing. Just a thought. Otherwise, I encourage everybody, there is money to be had. I encourage everyone to take a shot at it. Remember, these are not like huge, long, lengthy processes. If you have questions, reach out and let us know. Thanks, Casey.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, and just to reinforce, one of the biggest things that was a reason for application denials was just there was not a strong enough action plan submitted with that application. So make sure that's really developed well, it's concise, explains the goals and all that. That was one of the biggest talking points during the NITSA webinar. All right, if no other questions or comments, I'll turn it back over to Amanda, and I will get those links in the chat for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll hear from Bengie about PCRF in Buffalo, New York. Bengie, over to you.
Thanks, Amanda. Actually, I'll let Randall and all the others go first, and I'll go behind after Lori, if that's okay.
Sounds great. Randall?
Thanks.
Randall will be giving the NASEMSO liaison update as well as the violence against EMS update.
Amanda, I don't see Randall on the participation list, so you might go ahead to go to Lori.
Okay, sounds good. Actually, Monet, are you ready to share the monthly report and an annual meeting update?
Yes, I can do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being on the call today. I wanted to remind you that the NEMSIS TAC provides a monthly activity report that summarizes our current initiatives. The purpose of the report is to increase transparency and communication with our stakeholders and better support the work you do. We push the report out via the NEMSIS Google group, and it's also available on the NEMSIS website for your review. I'm going to show you exactly how to get to the report. From a navigation tab at the very top, you can go to View Reports, Public Reports, and on this page, you'll see the NEMSIS monthly report. The very first link at the top of this page is that March activity report. And it's only a few pages, it's about 5 pages this time. But this is a great resource for you to share internally with your team so that they can get a high-level overview of the NEMSIS project. If you have any questions about this report, anything you want added to this report, please reach out and let us know, and we'll be happy to make those considerations. Now I'm going to go right into the annual meeting. I'm just going to go back here to the Home tab. The Home logo is the second tab on this page, and here is the link that you can click on directly. Now, the NEMSIS annual meeting is an opportunity for all NEMSIS stakeholders to meet in the same room to address questions and concerns about the standard, learn from each other, and make connections. I want to first thank those who have currently registered. We really appreciate you taking care of that well in advance of the closure date. And I want to mention that we will host the meeting in the same location as the 2024 meeting. The dates are August the 26th through the 29th in Park City, Utah. I would also like to remind you to please make your hotel reservations at the Sheraton Park City and gain the NEMSIS guest rate. Now, what I also want to mention about this annual meeting is we currently have the draft agenda here on the NEMSIS website. I'll mention that on the Tuesday pre-conference sessions, there are 3. There is one for, well, we want the one for the Data Managers Forum and also for the Software Vendor Forum. These 2 meetings will offer a virtual session. However, for the Wednesday and Thursday general sessions, these sessions will not have a virtual option. And these 2 sessions are required for software vendors, especially those who want to maintain their compliance. In addition to just the compliance piece, we want to mention that the in-person participation
really is the best way to experience the annual meeting. Now, you mentioned on the 2024 evaluations that you wanted more engagement, more ways to connect with each other. And one of the ways that we are attempting to do that is to introduce the lightning rounds. This will be an opportunity for each of you to sign up for maybe a 5 or 10 minute session where you can talk about issues that are important to you. I also want to mention that if you've been with the NEMSIS project or understanding or working with the NEMSIS project for 1 year or for 20 years, your voice matters, and we really would love to hear from you. So please consider signing up to be a lightning round speaker. One last thing I'll mention about the annual meeting is we have an opportunity to help state managers who may need assistance. We sent out the email on March 11th. We will close that application process in a week, so they will close by April 16th. Please submit your application so that we can make some decisions about who we may be able to provide assistance to get to the annual meeting. Now, are there any questions about anything related to the annual meeting? If you have questions that come up later, please feel free. There is a help desk ticket here at the bottom of each page on the NEMSIS website. Simply submit the help desk ticket and we will respond appropriately. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you all. Have a good rest of your day. Back to you, Amanda.
Thank you for that, Monet. Okay. So next we're going to go to Lori with the pain study documentation recommendation.
Good, thanks, Amanda. I'm going to share my screen here. And we did talk about this. Let me look here. We did talk about this on our last call, but we have had requests from several states that are participating in this new study. It's being done through the University of Pittsburgh, and it compares fentanyl and ketamine. It is a blind trial, so clinicians do not know what medication they're giving. And the question we're primarily getting is, how should this be documented? You can see a list here of hospitals, trauma centers that are currently participating in the study, but we've heard from other states that they have agencies or hospitals that are interested in participating, and so this list may grow. I will put a link to this study in the chat in just a moment, but we did release, we sent out an email at the end of March with kind of our recommendations of how this can be documented that will not cause the records to fail, that'll also allow the study hosts, those host sites, to be able to find which participants are participating in the study. And so you can see it's outlined here under E medications 03, medications administered, just unable to complete, because again, the clinician will not know what they're giving. And then E outcomes 03, an external report, other would be the option there. And then E outcomes 5, other report registry type. And then the University of Pittsburgh recommended that you just type in pain study drug so that they can find that and file it appropriately. And so if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to us, or the information for the people conducting the study is listed on this recommendation as well. This should have gone out to all state data managers, but if for some reason you did not get it, please reach out to me or submit a help desk ticket, let me know, and we'll make sure we get you added to that group, to that email. And we also have had some discussion and would love to hear recommendations either now or again through an email or a help desk ticket. If you have other studies similar to this going on in your state that you're sometimes unsure how to document, if you've maybe created some custom elements around those, or if you have suggestions for a more standardized or a national way to deal with studies like this, we'd love to hear kind of how you've handled it in your state, or if there's anything we can do to help you in the future. We're very open to that. That is all I have. I'll pass it back to you, Amanda.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, we will pop back to Bengie
Right.
or PCRF.
Thanks, Amanda. I was trying to buy Dave Page sometime, but that's okay. So thank you everyone for allowing me the opportunity to share. The PCRF is going to be held. If you're not familiar, the PCRF is the Pre-Hospital Care Research Forum. We did complete one last year here in November at the University of Utah. It's a workshop that will be held in partnership with UCLA and the University at Buffalo. It'll be held on June 4th through the 6th. The PCRF promotes and disseminates cutting-edge pre-hospital care research. We have the opportunity to engage with respected EMS professionals, clinicians, educators, and industry representatives. Participating in the research allows us to improve patient care and enhance professionalism, and to also raise public awareness of EMS and the role that we play in healthcare. So please don't miss the opportunity to join us for the PCRF. I do have, if I can share, if you're on the NEMSIS website, the first banner, the first slide is the PCRF link, and I will put all of those in the chat later today. It has all of the information that you need to know about joining the PCRF. And if you go also to the UCLA's website, it also has the information here as well, where you can register and information about the PCRF over here for the one that NEMSIS is partnering with. And basically, when you join the PCRF, I've been to one of the PCRFs in California, and as I mentioned earlier, the one that was here in November. The first day, everyone gets to introduce themselves, and we talk about different topics, and we're selected into groups. We're put into groups where we can start to develop our research topics, and we work with statisticians and other clinicians and clinical mentors who are professionals in the field who have a lot of education and knowledge about EMS data. And you work in teams and smaller groups to conduct a research paper. So the workshop allows you the opportunity to create the abstract, where you can attend many conferences to present the abstract and display or show how our data is being used in EMS and the changes that we can make in doing so. There is no application fee. The application fee is free to apply. So if you're interested, as Monet mentioned earlier, please open up a help desk ticket on the NEMSIS website if you have questions about the PCRF, or you can reach out to Dave Page directly or myself. Yeah, so, and I'll put the links in the chat. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Amanda. I'll turn it back to you if no one has any questions for me.
Okay, I still don't see Randall. Is that true?
Randall won't be able to make the call today.
Perfect. Okay. Well, in that case, I will go over the next sessions. So we have sessions scheduled for the following dates: Wednesday, April 23rd, May 14th, and May 28th, just at the same time, 11 to 12:30 Eastern. Before we wrap up, let's open the floor for any questions or comments. Feel free to unmute or use the chat, and we'll move into the open forum.
And Eric or Jeremy, I don't know if you're on the call still, Eric, if you have any updates from NHTSA OEMS, let us know as well.
I am still on the call. I have nothing specific for the group today unless you have questions for me.
Lauren says, thank you for restoring the resources. You are welcome, Lauren. We're glad we could get those back up as well. Thanks for your patience in that. Any other questions? All right, I think we're ready for breakout rooms then.
Okay, Jen, would you remind everybody about the breakout room conduct?
Absolutely. So this is just a reminder, today is a collect and send breakout room. So we request that other vendors do not join a vendor call unless they have asked permission to be there. So this is a chance for the states and the agency customers to get a hold of their vendors and talk in a group environment like this. Please make sure that you make yourself known if you enter one of their rooms and you are another vendor. And the TAC folks, that's our job, is to look and try and monitor that as much as possible. And I know everyone will be kind and respect each other. So I don't even know that I need to say that. Are we ready to go into the breakout rooms? Fantastic. See you folks there.
If anyone does have trouble entering a room that they'd like to be in, just put your name, your request, and which room you'd like to be in the chat, and I can take care of that for you.
All right, and I just want to thank everyone for their participation. We know you're extremely busy, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Again, the next training is going to be Tuesday, May 6th, and our next V3 call will be Wednesday, April 23rd. Have a great day, everyone.